Hello bookworms! Today I'm going to be sharing my March book haul with you. So this is one of those kind of exception months where I bought a total of 11 books this month, but that's not more than I read this month. I read over 11 books. However, it is over my 10 book limit for the month. But despite purchasing 11 books, from the ones that I'm going to show you, there's only 4 that I bought that are going to be added to my TBR. So overall, that's not too bad. And then I did also receive more books than usual from publishers, so I do have those to share as well. So yeah, going to try to do a better job in April of sticking to my 10 books, but I did say in the beginning of the year I knew there would be some exceptions, and I was planning on March being an exception, but it ended up being an exception for a couple of reasons. But anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and get started. So the first book that I'm gonna talk about is Go the Distance by Jen Kalanita, and this portion of the video is sponsored by Disney Book Group, so thank you so much to them. Go the Distance is actually the 11th book in the Twisted Tale series that Disney has been putting out for ages now. This is a really fun series and it puts a spin on the classic Disney stories that we know and love. And this installment tackles Hercules, so you know I was definitely in for this. I really love Greek mythology and Hercules was one of my favorite Disney movies when I was a kid. I just loved Hades so much. I thought he was so funny and I'm so excited to read this one. So this book examines the what if scenario if Meg were to become a Greek god. Basically what happens is that Zeus is being a jerk like always, and he decides that Meg is not worthy of Hercules because she is a mere mortal. So Hera steps in and offers Meg a chance to complete a quest, and if she completes the quest then she will be able to attain godhood and be able to be with Hercules. But of course, being a quest given by a Greek god, this is going to be no easy task. Hera tasks Meg with traveling to the underworld and rescuing her ex-boyfriend's current wife. So obviously probably not the top person on Meg's list for who she would like to rescue, but it definitely sounds like it's going to be fun. I really love Greek mythology, as I said earlier, but I especially love anything that involves a trip to the underworld. I've been listening to Hadestown nonstop, so I am very excited to see Meg's journey, and I'm obviously going to be rooting for her. Go the Distance is actually available in stores now as of today. I'm going to leave a link down below to the book, so if you're interested, you can find out more about it or purchase your copy through there. Thank you so much to Disney for sending this to me. I love the concept of the series. I just think all of the books in here have explored such fun storylines, and you guys know how much of a Disney fan I am. Thank you again to Disney Book Group for sponsoring this video. And now moving on, I'm going to show you the 11 books that I purchased myself this month. I'm going to start with the 2 most obvious books that I got, and I'm saying 2 because they're the same thing, but I got the Illumicrate edition and the Waterstones edition of Chain of Iron by Cassandra Clare. This is the second book in the Last Hour series, and I loved it so much. I read this one in February and just fell completely in love with it. I was expecting to. No surprises there. I had pre-ordered these long ago, so I knew that they would be coming in March, and I'm so thankful to have them. I think they're both so pretty. This one actually has sprayed yellow pages. This one does not, but I think that they're both really beautiful, and I'm very excited to add them to my collection, and I have to try to get that Waterstone sticker off of this one, so wish me luck. Then I picked up Bridge of Souls, which is the 3rd book in the Cassidy Blake series by Victoria Schwab. I think this series is so much fun. It's a spooky middle grade series, and I read the first 2 books so quickly, and I have no doubt that I'm going to read this one very quickly too. I like that each one is set in a different city, so this is the first time that we're actually going to be in America, and we're going to be in New Orleans. Our main character, Cassidy, is able to see ghosts, and her parents are actually ghost hunters that have a popular television show, which is why they travel from city to city and explore some of the different myths and legends surrounding that town. So it's just a really fun series, and I've been really looking forward to this one. It got delayed. It was actually supposed to come out last year. I'm assuming that it was because of all of the delays that happened in 2020, but I'm excited to have my hands on it now. I'm still debating whether I'm going to pick it up right away or if I'm going to wait a little bit and read it around August. But either way, very excited to have secured my copy. Then I got a new comic book that came out, and that is Tokyo Fashion by Nadoka. This is touted as an easy guide to Japanese style, so there are a lot of graphics inside that show you easy ways to build a wardrobe and how you don't really need an excess of items. It's really about like mixing and matching a couple of pieces that work well together, and it goes into like, you know, Tokyo street style, and it's all told in comic form, which is really fun. This shows you like different silhouettes of skirts, and it just goes through like different color combinations that work well together, pieces that you can have in your wardrobe, and it looks like it's going to be very cute. I'm excited to read it. I love fashion, and I especially love the fashion in Japan, so this was like a no-brainer for me to pick up. And then moving on to backlist books, I picked up the 75th anniversary edition of The Hobbit by J.R.R. Tolkien. I, for some reason, never owned this edition before, but now I do. So I'm excited to add this one to my Lord of the Rings collection. I've actually been rereading The Hobbit this month, and I actually ordered this one for a specific reason, and that's because I pre-ordered the dust jackets that Nerdy Ink is coming out with for the Lord of the Rings series and for The Hobbit, and this is the edition of The Hobbit that dust jacket fits. So now I'll be able to put that on there and display this one, and that was the main reason that I picked it up. And I also liked the idea of getting a book that I've wanted for quite a while not adding anything to my TBR. Then I picked up a nonfiction book, and that is I Am C-3PO by Anthony Daniels. This is the inside story as told from Anthony Daniels, and it's going to touch upon the filming of Star Wars, which is obviously one of my favorite franchises in the world. I love everything Star Wars related. I read Carrie Fisher's book about the filming of the original trilogy, and I'm really excited to get more insight from Anthony Daniels' eyes. C-3PO is actually my favorite droid. And this book doesn't only talk about the filming of the original trilogy, but it talks about the filming of all 9 Star Wars movies. So there's a lot of material covered here, and I'm really excited. Supposedly it's very funny. There's a foreword that's written by J.J. Abrams, and yeah, can't wait to read this one. Then I got the illustrated edition of Robin Hobb's Royal Assassin, which is the second book in the Farseer trilogy. I have been meaning to read this trilogy for so long. I already have the first one in the illustrated version, and I think it's really beautiful. I have no doubt that I'm going to end up loving it. So I've been trying to wait and not purchase sequels until I know that I'm going to enjoy something, until I've read the first one and loved it. But there's a reason that I ended up picking this one up despite not having read the first one yet, and I will share that with you very shortly. Then I did something I never thought that I would do, but I did. I bought the new covers of the A Court of Thorns and Roses series. So I have ACOTAR, ACOMAF, ACOWAR, and A Court of Frost and Starlight. And you might be thinking, Kristen, but you've told us numerous times how much you hate those covers, and that is accurate. I do not like these covers at all. However, I have been reading A Court of Frost and Starlight. I've been trying to read A Court of Frost and Starlight, and without the dust jacket on, the book is like this beautiful bright orange. So I looked it up online and confirmed that these hardcovers were also beautiful, bold, bright colors, which I love, and I love being able to add color to my bookshelf because I find that so often fantasy novels have like black, white, gray spines, or like just very dark tones, and I definitely am a person that prefers color, so that's why I decided to get these. I'm going to show you what each of them look like now without the cover on. It might actually inspire you to pick them up because they're actually really pretty when you take this situation off. So they actually match the writing. So ACOTAR is this beautiful red. Gonna throw those in a box. Then, oh no, ACOMAF is this beautiful color. It looks like there's like a little black smudge on mine, so I'm gonna have to see if I can get that off. But this is probably my favorite one. I think this is such a nice like teal color. Goodbye. And goodbye. And then obviously this is also one of my favorites, ACOWAR, because this is a brilliant pink. I love it. It's like hot pink and black, which was my favorite color combination when I was in high school. I still think it looks quite good together, but I don't wear it as often as I used to. And then the last one is this very pretty blue. So you can see them all stacked together here, and I just think that they look really nice together. They're so vibrant and they just make me happy. And I was going for things that make me happy this month. So then moving on to books that were sent to me from publishers. The first book that I am so excited to share is Dr. Aphra by Sarah Kuhn. This was originally released as an audiobook last summer, as like an audiobook only, and now they have just printed a hardcover version, and I'm so excited because I'm 100% going to be reading this very soon. As you'll see in my wrap up, I've been reading a ton of Star Wars stuff this month, and Dr. Aphra is like by far one of my favorite new characters to have been introduced. She is just so awesome, and I love her murder droids, and yeah, to get a whole book about them, I'm in. I'm so in. I'm definitely going to be picking this one up very soon. Then I was sent a copy of How to Avoid a Climate Disaster by Bill Gates. I'd been really looking forward to this book just because I feel like I could be more knowledgeable about climate change, and I can tell you that I do feel like I am. I read this one as soon as it arrived, and I thought it was really interesting. I'll obviously talk more about that in my wrap up, but yeah, I am so glad that I got this one. I'm so thankful that they offered to send this to me. It was like kind of on my radar, but the fact that it came to me made it a priority to read right away, and that was a good choice. But yeah, this basically explores everything that is going on with climate change and what we need to do in order to offset our carbon emissions and get everything down to zero. It sounds like it's going to be really tough, but it was a very fascinating subject, and I'm definitely going to be looking into more about climate change now that I have this like base knowledge. Then this explains my earlier purchase. So Random House sent me a copy of Assassin's Quest by Robin Hobb, the illustrated edition, and I had the first one and they sent me the third one, so I felt like I had to get the second one. I actually had some rewards points, so I didn't end up spending any money on it, which is kind of nice. But yeah, now I have the complete trilogy, and these will be the editions that I read when I decide to pick up the Farseer trilogy, which is definitely happening this year. Random House also sent me a copy of True Believer by Abram Reisman, and this is the rise and fall of Stan Lee. So obviously everybody knows Stan Lee from Marvel Comics fame. He created a lot of the things that all of us enjoy today, and he has kind of a murky history. There's been some issues with him not necessarily giving enough credit to some of the artists that also played a big hand in creating some of these iconic characters, but he's a very interesting man. I read his autobiography in the past, which, since it's an autobiography, it was obviously biased and kind of told through rose-colored glasses. So I'm really excited to read an unbiased view of Stan Lee's life. I think it'll be really interesting. And I had the pleasure of meeting and working with Stan Lee in the past, and he was such a nice man. I'm really excited to read and learn more about him. Then Random House also sent me a copy of Hooked by Michael Moss. This is all about food and food addiction and how big companies exploit everyone in order to manipulate our food addictions and what they do to kind of make us crave different things that aren't very healthy for us. I'm actually in the middle of reading it right now. You can kind of see my bookmark in there. Actually, I have to update that because I read more. But I've always found the subject of food to be really interesting, and I love reading nonfiction books about food, so I've been really enjoying this one. I feel like I'm not surprised by the way that some big businesses are run, but it is definitely very eye-opening, and it makes you think twice about why you're craving certain foods. And then the last book that I want to highlight is Yolk by Mary H.K. Choi. This was sent to me by Simon & Schuster, and sadly, I don't think that I'm going to be able to read this. I'm just not in a state where I think I can handle something like this, but I have really loved Mary H.K. Choi's other books, so I wanted to just mention it in case you didn't know that this one was coming out. This is actually really cute. I like the little hand holding on the spine there. I just noticed that. But this is a tale about sisters, and one of them's living a very privileged life and the other one is definitely struggling, and one of them ends up getting diagnosed with uterine cancer, and I think they pull off some kind of insurance fraud so that one sister can help save the other sister, and they start living together again. And it sounds like it's going to be really good. I just am not in a place where I can read about somebody with cancer. I think it's going to be a really long time before I'm able to do that. Not going to be reading this one, unfortunately, but I hope that some of you guys will be able to. So those are all of the books that I acquired in March. There's definitely a lot more of them than I thought that there was going to be. But again, didn't really increase my physical TBR too much, so that is definitely a plus. And thank you again to Disney Book Group for sponsoring the video. Don't forget to pick up a copy of Go the Distance if you have not already. Let me know if you've read anything that I talked about in this video, and let me know some of your favorite books that you picked up in March that you're really looking forward to read, or maybe that you've already read and enjoyed. But that's all that I have for this video, so I will see you guys soon in a new one. Bye!